So I've had this Craftsman LT2500 for a couple of years now. Larry gave it to me. Shout out to Larry. Anyway, when you fire it up, it's a Briggs 18.5 horse. It wants to just run wide open. And what I think I want to do to it is pulley swap it. It's a hydro, and I've always heard you can't pulley swap hydros. We need to test that theory. And a lot of the bolts are already loose. So that should make it easier. I want to pull that engine off, get it going. That is basically all stripped down. I think I'll go ahead and take the gas tank out because the pressure washer has its own gas tank. All that wiring on the dash can go away, and we've got it stripped down. So it is update time. I found these in a dumpster. I grabbed them. These are really good for building wheelie bars. These are bed frame wheelie bars. Anyway, these wheels came off of this pressure washer cart. I got this pressure washer just for this hydro build. I cut the wheels off already. Anyway, next we're going to grab that engine, and it's going to go on this. I want to put a big pulley going down to that small pulley to the hydro. Hydros come with small pulleys in the back. Anyway, just the other night I stripped this thing down. There's the belt, the exhaust, all of the safety switches. Every wire is going to be cut off of it. I did save the headlight wires just in case we want to run some headlights, put a little battery here. But today's goal is get the engine in, find some kind of pulley, even if we have to make one, find a belt, see if we can get this thing going. So I just pulled the Honda engine off, and that leaves us a lot of pipe for future exhaust systems. So I had to take the pressure washer apart to get it off the engine, but that's what it's supposed to look like. We do need to modify the frame a little bit, and we may have to weld the pulley to the crankshaft, but that's what it's supposed to look like. So I've got the Craftsman torn down as far as we're going to go. Now it's time to start putting it back together. My first step, I want to get this engine running. I just cleaned the carburetor bowl. It had some varnish. Anyway, then we got to try to custom fit that pulley onto the crankshaft. Let me show you what I mean by custom fit. So when I pulled the pressure washer parts off, this is what we have left. Big, medium, and small. That is about the right size. This is a 1-inch hole. That must be slightly metric. It almost goes on, but it does not. So what I need to do is either bore this out or sand that down. I think I might fire the engine up and try to sand that down just so that goes on. Then we'll be ready to roll. We'll probably have to weld it on there, but hey, it's a $20 engine. So the cart is a little bit awkward. I've got an device. This is time for a first start. I've got fresh gas in it. I drained the old gas out while the bowl was off. We've got the exhaust running out the window. We've got the fan running. Let's see if it'll start. The key's on. The choke's on. Cold start. Carburetors have to be clean. Sure is quiet with all that exhaust and cherry bomb going out the window. I got a plan. So it is update time. I just drilled a hole through this collar, through the crankshaft. It's got a key, it's got a keyway, it's going to be double fixed. On the pulleys, we're going to go with this one. I want to use this one because it's slightly bigger, maybe a 1/2 inch bigger, but it's got a collar on the inside. I need about a 1-inch drill bit. I don't have a 1-inch drill bit. So we're going to take this one and press it onto here. Should be good to go. So I just used this vise and I squeezed this collar in. That looks perfect. It was tight. I'm not going to bother welding it. It ain't coming out of there. And if we want to, we could get a longer bolt, and that would be a backup plan. I don't think it needs it, but we could do that. I'm going to run to the store right now and buy a bolt that goes through here, then we can get it put on the mower. And I turned this fat blade into a skinny blade for cutting sharp turns. So I just came back from the hardware store. I spent about $3.90 something. I bought these 2 bolts. We might use those for motor mount bolts. This one goes into the bottom. I'm just going to put some washers on. Don't really need it, but kind of wanted to do it. And then I got this pin that goes through the crankshaft. Let's get it put together. And I think I've got everything to finish this except for maybe a belt. Hopefully we can find a belt around here, but we'll probably have to buy a belt. So at Tractor Supply, probably 2 months ago, I found this belt. I think it was $2, and I said, I'm gonna get it. Anyway, the original belt is shorter. The new belt is slightly longer. And then the pulley on the engine is ready to go together. I've got the bolt going through the crankshaft. That nut is tight. It's a self-locking nut. Down here, I've got this bolt holding it all together. I don't think we needed it, but we've got it. So there's a C-clamp on this side. There's a C-clamp on the other side. It's holding the motor mount in place. If I pull the engine off, we should be able to drill some holes and mount it right where it goes. And the belt, this is the 91-inch belt. I think it's going to work just right. We could probably get rid of this, slide it back and use the original belt. We'll go with the new belt for now. So I've got 2 nuts underneath. That'll space it up, line up the pulley where it needs to be. I've got longer bolts to go through the engine, through the plate, through the frame. And then back here I'll use the stock bolts that came with the pressure washer. And here I've not decided yet. That might be a stock bolt too. And then we'll do another hole, do another nut. So the motor mount plate is in place. I've got these 2 bolts. They're tight. They're holding it where it needs to be. I'm going to have 2 engine bolts going through grade 8. That goes through the engine, through the plate, through the frame. There'll be a nut on the bottom. So the next step is to put the engine in place and get these 4 bolts. Tighten them up. It'll be time for a test fire, see if we can get this thing to roll. Alright, it is test drive time. The engine's in, the belt's on. If it'll run, it should go. So clutch is in. It should be in the neutral position on a hydro. Choke is on, key is on. So it does work. I think the carburetor, once we get it clean, we should have enough power to make this thing go. Then we do a speed run. The goal is to be faster than 5 miles an hour. That might be enough for tonight. So on pulley swapping this hydro, I'm basically done with everything. Mounting the engine, the belt's on, it runs, it drives, but this belt's really floppy. It was a new belt when I put it on, now it's getting a little bit worn out looking. I'm thinking if I add a idler pulley there, take some of the length out, maybe it'll quit flopping so much. There's already a pulley right here underneath the floor. So if we add this one, we should be good to go. And I think I'll just temporarily put it in place just to see how it works. And before I do this, I should probably fire it up for you and let you see how it flops. This will be a cold start. Did you see how much flop there was? I don't know, maybe that's good enough for a test drive. So if we're going to get top speed out of this pulley swap, I got to have the carburetor run right. We can't be running on half choke. I just took it apart and cleaned it. And these little Honda carburetors are super simple. I've got it all cleaned out. Here's your float. It was all covered with varnish, but the gas, I guess, broke that up. It was really easy to clean. All the jets are clean. Let's get it back together. And update time, as I'm putting the carburetor on, this is the governor arm. I just unhooked the linkage from that, the spring, throw that away, and I've got this throttle coming from the dash. So the carburetor, the air filter housing, the air filter, and this new throttle has been installed. Little zip tie there. We'll turn the key on. There's the choke. It's time for a test. And if I'm doing my math right, that'll be idle, that'll be go. We'll know in a minute. I'm way up the front tire and we'll go for a speed run. So when we look under the mower, everything looks good. The belt's in place. I don't see anything rubbing. If we feel the transmission, it's hot. Not unbearably hot, but if we touch that brake, it's really hot. It must be rubbing. That's probably costing us some top speed. I did see a top speed of 8. It might would have been 10 if that wasn't rubbing. Let's go take that apart, see if we can try again. So just a test drive, we hit 8 miles an hour, and then I realized the brakes were locked up, so I just took the brake pad out. Also, the front tire's flat again, so I'm going to air up the front tire, no brakes. And I'm trying to put some kind of seal in there so it'll be a little more comfortable. And now we're going to try to hit the double digits, looking for 10. And so one more issue, this idler pulley has a bunch of rust inside of it. That can't be good for the belt. I'm going to try to clean some of that out, and then we can do our test run. So it's cold out here. I don't really want to get muddy, but we need to test this thing out in the mud. It's almost dark. Let's hurry up. And keep in mind, it's turf tires with a front flat tire. Here we go. This is the flat tire. pretty impressed with turf tires. I think next, let's try it with some tractor tires. I know who has some that we can borrow. I feel like this one did better than the Husqvarna did with tractor tires. So this is my address. This is from Howie, USS Discovery. Let's get this baby open. And that is shout out to Howie T. I appreciate the tag, and here's a shot of the back. If you want to send a tag, here's the address. And speaking of tags, look at that one, 327. I need that one. So I just borrowed the front tires off of LT Johnson. Those are GoPowersports.com specials. They are 19 by 7 by 8s. In the back, those came off of Troy number 5, 20 by 10 by 8. The turf tires were also 20 inches tall, so it shouldn't change our top speed, but it should do a whole lot better in the mud. Well, we found a weakness. Deep water equals belt slippage. Let's go get the new to me LT1000 and see if it wants to pull it out. So for a final rundown, did the pulley swap work? To me, 5 is about an average speed for a mower. This one did 10, so I'd say it worked. I just did another speed run. It would only do 9. I put these tires on to do the speed run, and they're both flat. So that's probably the difference between hitting 10, hitting 11. Anyway, if I could go back, would I do anything different? I'd probably the stock engine, just run the throttle straight to the carburetor like I did on this one. We'd had plenty of power for testing. We know now it's not good for deep water crossings. And total price, I spent $20 on the engine, $4 on some nuts and bolts and washers, and that's about it. So $24. I already had the belt. I borrowed the tires. 24, that's not bad. Anyway, tell me what you think I should do with it. If you want to suggest a name for it, if you want to send me a tag. Thanks for watching.